Right, we're going to remove the oil pump on this thing, and I do want to specify a couple things here. This here, there's 3 black bolts that go on this corner on the outside. Those need to stay in that spot. They can't go in any other spot. And then you got a series of bolts here. And then these in the front have to come off as well. So now let's remove this oil pump. Go ahead and pull your bolt out of there. Your crank bolt. I have another video on how to remove the harmonic balancer, so if I remember later, I'll go back and link it, but if not, go back to my video gallery and find it. Let's remove this now. We're going to go ahead and do the water pump while we're here at the same time too. I have all the bolts out of the body of the oil pump, and I have the front bolts out of here. I'm going to go ahead and pull the water pump while I'm here as well. It's a series of 8 mil all the way around. And then I'm going to pull the bell housing bolts. And the reason I'm doing that is because I have this out of the vehicle, and I need those bolts out so I can take the pan. I need to flip it upside down and take the pan off to get the bottom of this. Now, you probably could heat this up really freaking good in the front, but then you might risk warping it because of how hot you got to get it to release that silicone. The right way to do it would be to pull the pan before you pull the oil pump. So let's do that next. Water pump, bell housing bolts. I've already got flywheel bolts out. Basically, you just take this starter, it's a piece that goes in front of the starter, you pull it out, spin the engine over and take a series of 4 15mm bolts, flywheel bolts out. And once you do that, now you can flip the motor, separate it, flip the motor, and then go from there. I'm going to go ahead and pull the oil filter housing while I'm here. This is a Torx 70 that gets the center of this out. And then once you get the center of that out, you can just work this loose. I misspoke. It's a 12mm Allen. I'm sorry. Just getting ahead of myself. Sometimes I get anxious, but you can see here. Now for the water pump. Okay, water pump is out. Now I'm going to start pulling these bell housing bolts out all the way around so I can separate this block. Again, if it was in the car, you'd be able to do everything from the bottom and the side with like the fender liner and stuff pulled out of the way, but I've got it out already. There's a timing port right here when you go back to put this engine together. This bolt has to come out because it has to go in the new block. They don't give it to you in the new block. So you got to remove this lower coolant pump because you got 2 bolts underneath it. They have to come out. Yeah, and you got to remove this out. And these are tight because they put blue Loctite on them to hold this pump in. So be very careful. Now I'm going to go pull all the bolts out now that I'm free of anything being in the way. Okay, the block is out. I just had somebody hold the trans because whenever you pull the block off of it, it throws the weight off and it actually tries to flip back out of the way. So the best thing to do is actually take a piece of wood and stick behind the trans back here. And then I just picked it up. Obviously it's not that heavy, and sitting out here now. I'm going to take the flywheel off of it, and I think there's like a series of 16 or 17mm bolts all around the flywheel. And then I'm going to work on flipping it upside down, and actually I'll flip it upside down first, but then I'll start working on getting the oil pan off of it so I can get that oil pump off of it. So all the bolts are out all the way around. Now we're going to work on putting some pry bars under there and start to pry this thing loose all the way around. Okay, pan's off. Quite a bit of sludge in there. That's why it's important to run. Okay, so now we're ready to start pulling the pump. This is one of the reasons why the oil pan has to come off, because you have these 8 mils in here. They've got to come off because they attach the oil pump to the bottom of the windage tray. I go ahead and pull my crank bolt out of here and slide this pump off the front of it. Alright, crank bolts out of it.
Oh, this little, oh, 3 bolt. Sorry.
You can see that square drive is driven off of that right there on the crank. And that's how you remove your oil pump. That's it.